Top 10 shocking moments in sports that are hard to believe. Sports are built on passion, glory, and heartbreak, but sometimes the moments we witness are so shocking, they seem almost impossible. From jaw-dropping comebacks to scandals that rocked the entire world, these are the moments that left fans stunned and history rewritten. Today, we're counting down the top 10 shocking moments in sports that are hard to believe. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for number 1, because it might just change the way you see sports forever. 10. Miracle on Ice, your 1980 Winter Olympics. The Cold War upset that stunned the world. In the winter of 1980, the world witnessed one of the most shocking upsets in sports history, a moment that would forever be remembered as the Miracle on Ice. The stage was the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, and the matchup was between the powerhouse Soviet Union hockey team and a group of young, relatively inexperienced American college players. The Soviets were considered invincible. They had dominated international hockey for years, winning nearly every major championship. On the other side, the U.S. roster was filled with amateurs who were never expected to challenge, let alone defeat, the greatest team in the world. But what made this game more than just a hockey match was the political backdrop, the height of the Cold War. This was more than sport. It was a symbolic clash of ideologies. Against all odds, the U.S. team fought with heart, grit, and determination. When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard read 4-3 USA. The crowd erupted. Commentator Al Michaels shouted his iconic line, "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes, and a nation found hope and pride in an impossible victory. This wasn't just a game, it was history in the making. 9. Maradona's Hand of God goal, 1986 World Cup. Genius or cheating? Few moments in sports history are as controversial and unforgettable as Diego Maradona's infamous Hand of God goal. It happened during the quarterfinals of the 1986 FIFA World Cup in Mexico when Argentina faced off against England. The match carried heavy emotions, coming just 4 years after the Falklands War between the two nations, which gave the clash an even deeper edge. In the 51st minute, Maradona leapt into the air, competing with England's goalkeeper, Peter Shilton. Instead of heading the ball, Maradona used his left hand to punch it into the net. To the shock of millions watching around the world, the referees missed the blatant handball and allowed the goal to stand. Maradona later described it as a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. Just minutes later, he scored again, this time with a dazzling solo run that is still called the goal of the century. But it was the first illegitimate goal that changed the game, giving Argentina the edge in their 2-1 victory. It remains one of the most shocking and debated moments in football history, forever dividing fans between genius and controversy. 8. Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear, 1997. The night boxing lost its mind. Boxing has always been a sport of intensity, aggression, and high drama, but nothing prepared the world for what unfolded on June 28, 1997 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. In a rematch between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, fans expected fireworks, but what they got was one of the most bizarre and shocking moments in sports history. Tyson, once known as the most feared man in boxing, had already lost to Holyfield in their first bout. This second fight was his chance at redemption. But by the third round, frustration boiled over. Holyfield was controlling the fight, and Tyson claimed he was being headbutted. In a shocking act of rage, Tyson leaned in during a clinch and bit off a piece of Holyfield's ear. Holyfield screamed in pain, the crowd erupted in disbelief, and the referee temporarily halted the fight. Unbelievably, Tyson wasn't immediately disqualified. The fight resumed, but moments later, he struck again, attempting to bite Holyfield's other ear. That was it. The referee stopped the fight, awarding Holyfield the victory, while Tyson was disqualified and fined heavily. It wasn't just a meltdown. It was a moment that forever changed Tyson's career and shocked the sporting world. 7. Christian Eriksen's collapse at Euro 2020, when the world held its breath. Football fans have seen broken bones, red cards, and dramatic finishes, but nothing prepared the world for what happened on June 12, 2021 at the UEFA Euro 2020 tournament. In a group stage match between Denmark and Finland, Danish star Christian Eriksen suddenly collapsed on the field, face first, with no one around him. At first, some thought he had tripped, but within seconds, the horror set in. Eriksen's heart had stopped. Players frantically waved for medical staff as teammates formed a protective wall around him, shielding him from cameras and the stunned crowd. Millions of viewers across the globe watched in disbelief as medics performed CPR on the pitch. For over 10 agonizing minutes, the stadium fell silent, fearing the worst. Miraculously, Eriksen was revived with a defibrillator and rushed to the hospital. The next day, photos showed him awake, smiling weakly from his hospital bed, giving the world hope. Later, he even returned to professional football, defying the odds. This wasn't just shocking, it was a reminder of how fragile life is, even for elite athletes at the peak of their powers. In that moment, the score didn't matter. The world united, holding its breath for one man's life. 6. The Malice at the Palace, 2004 NBA Brawl, when players took on fans. On November 19, 2004, the NBA witnessed a night that would live in infamy, a night now known as the Malice at the Palace. The matchup between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons was already heated, but with less than a minute left in the game, tensions boiled over into absolute chaos. It all started when Pacers forward Ron Artest committed a hard foul on Ben Wallace. Wallace retaliated, shoving Artest, sparking a scuffle on the court, but the situation turned shocking when Artest laid down on the scorer's table, trying to calm himself. Suddenly, a Pistons fan threw a drink at him. That single act ignited one of the wildest scenes in sports history. Artest charged into the stands after the fan, and teammates followed. Players fought with spectators, punches were thrown, drinks and debris flew, and the arena descended into mayhem. Security struggled to control the chaos as millions watched live on TV in disbelief. The aftermath was severe. Multiple players suspended, millions in fines, and the NBA's reputation shaken. The Malice at the Palace wasn't just a brawl, it was an unprecedented moment when the line between athletes and fans completely collapsed. 5. Monica Seles, stabbing on court, 1993. The day tennis lost its innocence. Tennis is supposed to be a sport of elegance, grace, and fierce competition. But on April 30th, 1993, the unthinkable happened. In Hamburg, Germany, world number 1 Monica Seles, just 19 years old and dominating the sport, was brutally attacked in the middle of a match. During a changeover, as Seles sat on the sideline, a man suddenly leapt from the crowd and stabbed her in the back with a knife. The stadium gasped in horror. Security rushed in, and Seles was carried off the court, bleeding and terrified. Miraculously, she survived, but the emotional scars ran deep. At the time, Seles was virtually unbeatable, having won 8 Grand Slam titles before her 20th birthday. Many believed she was destined to become the greatest women's tennis player of all time. But after the stabbing, she stepped away from the game for over 2 years. Though she bravely returned, she was never quite the same force. The attack wasn't just shocking, it was a chilling reminder of how fragile even the brightest careers can be. One moment, she was the queen of tennis. The next, her life and legacy had been forever changed by a single act of violence. That day, tennis lost its innocence, and the world learned that even champions aren't safe from tragedy. 4. Zinedine Zidane's Headbutt, 2006 World Cup Final. A legend's career ends in scandal. Few players in football history carried the elegance, skill, and respect that Zinedine Zidane commanded. A World Cup champion in 1998 and a hero for France, Zidane was playing his final professional match on the biggest stage possible, the 2006 World Cup Final against Italy. Fans expected a fairy tale ending to a legendary career. What they got instead was one of the most shocking moments in sports history. Late in extra time, with the score tied 1-1, Zidane and Italian defender Marco Materazzi exchanged words. Suddenly, in front of millions watching around the world, Zidane turned and drove his head into Materazzi's chest, sending him crashing to the ground. The stadium fell silent, the referee consulted his assistants, and then, the unthinkable, Zidane was shown a red card. The French captain, in his last ever match, walked past the World Cup trophy and down the tunnel, his career ending in scandal. France went on to lose the final on penalties, but the moment everyone remembered wasn't the shootout, it was Zidane's shocking outburst. For a man known for brilliance and composure, his farewell became one of football's most infamous images, a legend's exit forever marred by one headbutt. 3. Lance Armstrong's doping scandal, from hero to the biggest fraud in sports. For years, Lance Armstrong wasn't just a cyclist, he was a global icon. A cancer survivor who had defied the odds, Armstrong went on to dominate the Tour de France, winning the legendary race 7 consecutive times from 1999 to 2005. His story was more than just about sport, it was about hope, resilience, and human triumph. Millions wore his yellow Livestrong bracelets, inspired by his journey. But behind the glory was a secret that would unravel one of the greatest sporting legacies of all time. In 2012, after years of denial and suspicion, the U.S. anti-doping agency revealed that Armstrong had led the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. blood doping, EPO, steroids. It was systematic cheating on an unimaginable scale. The fallout was devastating. Armstrong was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles, banned from cycling for life, and publicly shamed. In a 2013 interview with Oprah Winfrey, he finally admitted the truth, shattering the trust of millions of fans who once saw him as a hero. What made it shocking wasn't just the cheating, it was that a man celebrated worldwide as an inspiration had built his empire on lies. Number 2, Super Bowl 51. Comeback, Patriots versus Falcons 2017. The 28-3 game that defied belief. On February 5th, 2017, the stage was set for Super Bowl 51 in Houston. The Atlanta Falcons, chasing their first ever championship, stormed out to a commanding lead against the New England Patriots. By the third quarter, the scoreboard read 28-3, a deficit so large that victory seemed impossible. Fans were already declaring the game over, and social media exploded with jokes at the Patriots' expense. But what unfolded next became the single greatest comeback in NFL history. Tom Brady, already a legend, refused to quit. With precision passing, relentless drives, and a defense that suddenly came alive, the Patriots began chipping away at the lead. Touchdown after touchdown, the impossible started to look possible. By the end of regulation, the game was tied 28-28, the first Super Bowl ever to go into overtime. In the extra period, the Patriots completed the miracle, with James White scoring the game-winning touchdown. Final score, 34-28 Patriots. It was a comeback no one could believe, a turnaround that redefined greatness and cemented Tom Brady's status as the greatest quarterback of all time. The phrase 28-3 will forever stand as a reminder. In sports, nothing is truly over until the final whistle. Number 1, Kobe Bryant's tragic death, 2020. The loss that shook the world. Some moments in sports transcend the games themselves and leave the world in collective heartbreak. On January 26, 2020, news broke that NBA legend Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others had died in a helicopter crash in California. The world stood still. Fans didn't want to believe it. How could someone so larger than life, so full of energy, be gone in an instant? Kobe wasn't just a 5-time NBA champion or an MVP. He was a global icon whose Mamba mentality inspired millions far beyond basketball. From his 81-point game to 2 Olympic gold medals, he had already secured his place among the greatest athletes of all time. But his second act, as a mentor, father, and even Academy Award winner, showed he was only beginning a new chapter of greatness. The shock wasn't just about losing a sports hero, it was about losing a figure who embodied hard work, resilience, and relentless pursuit of excellence. Across the globe, stadiums, streets, and even entire cities lit up in purple and gold to honor him. Kobe's passing reminded the world of how fragile life is and left behind a legacy that will inspire generations forever. Sports have always been about passion, glory, and heartbreak, but these moments remind us they're also about shock, controversy, and even tragedy. From miracle victories that lifted nations, to scandals that shattered legacies, to the unthinkable sight of athletes collapsing or careers ending in disgrace, these are the moments that proved sports are bigger than games. They're human stories, raw and unforgettable. And that's why they stay with us. We remember where we were when Tyson bit Holyfield, when Zidane lost control, when Armstrong's empire crumbled, when Eriksen's heart stopped on live TV, and when the world cried for Kobe. These aren't just highlights. They're turning points that shook entire fan bases, entire sports, even the entire world. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these shocking sports moments left you completely speechless? And did we miss a moment that you think deserves a spot on this list? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this countdown, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell, because we've got even more unbelievable stories coming your way, and you won't want to miss them.